What's up, everybody? My name is Jason, and welcome to Small Biz. In today's video, we're going to quickly make sense of the CPI and the PPI inflation number and why I think it's actually bullish for the stock market. Was the $15.7 million order from Muln bullshit or real? Did the XELA earnings actually help their cause? And is Mcom, which is run by the worst CEO in the history of NASDAQ, about to get off its back and make a move higher? All that and more coming right up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming up on the 2:30 hour last trade on Mcom, 67.5. It's starting to percolate. I will cover that towards the end of the video, but I want to start off by saying that the PPI number today, in conjunction with CPI yesterday, was the 10th below expectations. In other words, it was tame. But as I've been saying, follow me on Twitter, we are short-term overbought. We ran into 4,200 or thereabouts on the S&P for the 10th time in the last 11 months. I said we're probably going to run out of gas, buy the rumor, sell the good news, if you will, and we're going to drift lower as we head into Memorial Day. However, I also said this morning that I strongly believe the 40-year negative divergence between the IWM, aka small cap ETF, and the S&P 500 is going to close its gap. In other words, the stocks that we own, which includes ARKK, IWM, MCOM, MMAT, XELA, whose earnings I'll cover in a minute, Mullen, is the order real or is it fake? And Trika, all of those fall into a wheelhouse that if I'm right, and I have been dead on with respect to predicting crypto and the overall direction of the market. For about 12 months, I was in fuego with 100 winners almost in a row, 27 last July and August in a row, about 30% per. But we ran into a buzzsaw. Now we've got a bunch of turncoats that won't even talk to me. And before I forget and cover all this in hopefully 10 or 15 minutes or less, I sent out an email to about 3,000 people. The subject line: quick note from Jason at Small Biz. It's in reference to the email or the video I did yesterday. The premium program closes midnight next Friday. Most of you obviously think I'm full of shit. I think we've had one person upgrade in the last, let's call it 72 hours. And I think 3,500 emails have already been sent and about a third are already open. So I ain't fucking around, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to build the #1 small business directory and stock texting service. And if that's not enough in America, I'm going to do 60-second videos for those of you that get in before the deadline next Friday. So you got, I don't know, a week in a small day, a half a day or whatever. But let's talk about Mullen, or should we say Mullins? And by the way, did you see Mr. Mullins wearing his Super Mario shirt in one of his most recent Facebook Lives? Oh yeah, same one you can get for $8, by the way, at Walmart, along with his Rick Ross minus the diamonds jewelry. But we're actually getting phone calls and emails from people from Vicksburg, Mississippi, his hometown. He goes by a different name according to his high school roommates, and he actually still lives with his mother. And while I don't have anything against that, because my father stayed with me, rest his soul, for a number of years before he passed into the next life, you have to admit, when you add up everything Mr. Mullins has said and then rolled back in a successive Facebook Live video, there's no wonder the stock last trade at 139 has had trouble sustaining a rally, even in the midst of a supposed $15.7 million order that is scheduled to deliver, I believe, in August. Folks, if you're new, welcome. We not only don't edit around here, but we fucking tell the truth at all times. If you're buying a penny stock, especially one under a quarter, most of the CEOs are full of shit. Most of them are diluting like hell, including Mcom, which again, what is that, 68.5 as we're at 2:35 in the afternoon. I think it's done going down. Let me say that again. MCON, even though I'm on MULN, is done going down. And I think the damn stop. That's all, folks. Slow down, Jason. I think Mcom could scoot to $1 and beyond quick, but I'll cover that in a second. I want to give a shout out to the bears in Mullins, who have not only smelled a rat with Mr. Super Mario Brothers, who's totally talking out his ass 23 and a half out of 24 hours a day. Same guy who went to prison for securities fraud and writing bad checks. Look, folks, do your research. I'm not saying there's no black box with respect to Mr. Mullen, but the guy is absolutely positively full of shit, and he's dangling carrots like the $10 billion deal with the Saudis that if the SEC is listening, are you listening? He's in big effing trouble, and he's going to take down us and Mullins with it. But some of you have rightly, perhaps, pointed out that the $15.7 million deal today with Mullen, which is going to go through Randy Marion Auto Group in the next couple of 3 months in terms of delivery, is a fake. Is it possible it's a fake? It's a phony. It's a fraud. Is it possible that $120 million supposedly in cash in almost $250 million and growing in back orders is total bullshit? Answer. Yeah. Because if you go to MGT Lease Company's website and scroll down, it tells you it's made by GoDaddy. Look around. There's no about me. There's no management. All they got is a fucking truck of Mullen, another Chevy truck, and just about nothing else. It looks like a third grader high on crack at 2 o'clock in the morning made the website. So is it possible, and they're trying to say, if my eyes are not mistaken me, that MGT Lease does $100 million a year in revenue? Well, let's just assume for a second that it's true, and it may not be. Somebody might want to help them redo that website. So ladies and gentlemen, I have to be as straightforward as I possibly can. With great risk comes great reward. I'm in these stocks up to my eyeballs, and at the moment anyway, last trade on Mcom, 69 and a quarter, I'm getting my ass kicked. But let us not forget how good last year was. Let us not forget how accurate I've been with respect to the market and crypto. And I'm telling you right now, based on inflation, based on the fact that the Fed is done, based on the fact that the bond market is telling you we're going to go all the way down to 2.5% or about halfway from 0 and 5.25 on the 10-year by the end of next year. And as you all know by now, the worst president in the history of the United States of America is going to be up for re-election next year. So what are they going to do? They're going to turn on the gas, aka quantitative easing. And they're going to wheel his ass across the finish line in a gurney with IV. Did you see him yesterday walking around shaking hands with ghosts? It doesn't matter how many fucking tapes we get or files or wires or anything of the sort related to him and his crackhead son. Neither one of them are going to jail. Neither one of them is going to be impeached. You know that. Most of you anyway. I know that. But if you're up to your ass, as I am, back on track, Jason, with respect to these penny stocks, you have to take just about everything they say with a grain of sand. But even the biggest pile of shit, like MCOM, can get oversold to such a degree, as we've demonstrated last year when we closed out up 600%. We're still up 377% in the last 15 months. Even the biggest, most deceptive pile of odorous excrement. By the way, did you see B-Big? I got out of that way too late, but I told you to sell it at 30 cents. I saved you what? An additional 50% drawdown. Why? Because they're all full of shit. They're all diluting. They're all lying. In many cases, they're all cheating and stealing. They're deceptive as hell. But there is always a grain of sand. And there's always an element of risk management that you have to pay attention to. Micro Mobility, formerly known as Hellbiz, was down this morning. I think I saw it at 62.5. Last trade close to 70. I think it's done going down. If you didn't hear me tell you that earlier, it's 90% or thereabouts off of where it was when it did a 1 for 50 reverse split. When Sal, the worst CEO in NASDAQ history, said, "You're going to owe me an apology," which was then followed up with, "I'm going to be," and this is him talking, "the last one laughing and or smiling." So Sal, I cannot think, and I've told you this before, but I'm going to tell you again, I cannot think of a more full of shit, tone deaf, arguably corrupt CEO in the history of small cap stocks. You have railroaded, lied, cheated, stolen, as far as I'm concerned, shareholder value minus 90% in the midst of more dilution yesterday. Anytime you see the stock, ladies and gentlemen, as it was up 8% yesterday in the pre-market, and then it gets smashed down and it traded, I think, 1.56 million shares, dilution. I guarantee, and we've looked, there was another filing the night before last, every 3 or 4 days. And here's your cue. Whenever Sal, the CEO of Mcom, comes out with news, it's an almost guaranteed dilution day. Whenever they come out with news, because it'll start to get goosed. Maybe it's Yorkville giving it a little help. Maybe it's dumb retail thinking, oh God, we're finally going to bottom out. And then they come in with the kaboom, and then they just sit there, and it's the same market maker. If you're watching level 2, it's the same guy sitting there feeding you all effing day long. But I am gambling, along with many of you, down. I got my average, by the way, with tiny amounts of money, buying at 73 and 80, I think, down to $2.08 or thereabouts. I'm not looking at my screen. So if this scoots back up over $1 on merger news, on a joint venture with Muln or anybody else with respect to cranking out their manufacturing capacity, we could wake up one morning, and this thing's $1.50 to $2. Because the float, even after approximately 1 to 1.25 million shares of dilution after the split, is small. We've got a market cap of around 8 or 9 million max. They're doing 2x that in revenue. And they claim at some point this year they're going to be profitable. So from a risk management standpoint, and from the fact that I do think Sal is an egomaniac that has just an ounce of dignity, and I mean just an ounce. Because if you look in the mirror, Sal, you have to be disgusted with what you've said and done in the last 6 months in particular. You've been asking us for apologies, and since your SPAC and under Hellbiz 2 years ago at $10, we've lost anyone who's a buy and holder 99.85% when it was down at 62 cents this morning. So if you have any ounce of dignity, and I'm betting that you do, you must be looking in the mirror and saying, I've got to get something going. Yes, I've been diluting. Yes, I've been deceptive. Yes, somebody's got to pay for my 7-figure lifestyle in that swanky retail store in Soho. But at some point, whether it's with Yorkville and or the SPAC folks that help bring you public, someone's going to draw a line in the sand and say, that's enough. I personally think it's a strong possibility it happened this morning. Last trade, 70 and a quarter. So if you've got new money or you've got a little bit of money and you're way too high, if you were buying at, let's call it 70 cents and under, I think it's a smart move. I think we're going to get some form of news, because if another 2 weeks goes by, he's not only going to be in violation of the $35 million market cap minimum, but he's going to get another ding from NASDAQ for being under $1 for a month. And in 30 years of trading, 15 of that in a former life as a stockbroker, I've never seen a stock do a reverse split of that magnitude, 50 to 1. And then within 6 weeks, drop 90% and get another violation from the NASDAQ. So Sal, if you're listening to me, you got about 10 days to 2 weeks max to get this fucking thing back over $1. I don't care if you do it, Yorkville does it, one of your buddies from Sicily does it, or you've got some sort of news that's going to back up the fact that you said we were going to be profitable at some point this year. Because if you don't get it back over $1 and you get another warning from NASDAQ, you'll have 6 months to probably, with another extension, a year to get back up and over $1. But you are going to go down, if you're not already, as the most pathetic fucking leader in the history of not only micro mobility, but of the entire NASDAQ stock market. You are one of the most deceptive cocksuckers I've ever seen. And if you didn't hear me, you are one of the most deceptive cocksuckers I've ever seen. But I am gambling that he's going to get it back over $1. And when it does, it's going to be time for a whiskey on a big rock. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, always remember that I love you. And thanks so much for watching.